a choice right now, between fear and love. It's just a ride.
Out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth.
Expanding reality.
A population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are.
There's a level of reality where everything dissolves into an ocean of energy.
We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity.
That's very profound. Very.
Expanding reality.
Welcome to Expanding Reality. I am your host, Brandon Thomas. On this very cool episode, guys, we have Louisa Firethorne joining us. Now, she is the inventor and creator of the Sonosphere, which will be located down in the show notes. Make sure you guys check her out. Truly remarkable. She is doing sound as a medicine. It's this Vibroacoustic Therapy. Absolutely fascinating. Now, I'm going to announce here that I'm not going to spend much time in the opening show notes for you guys, and let's get to the episode kind of thing, and trust that you are going to be respectful enough to listen to the affiliate information afterwards. So, let's get right to this incredibly cool episode, guys, with Louisa Firethorne. Welcoming to the show, we have Louisa Firethorne. Super awesome name, super awesome chick. You have a super amazing invention that you are either gifted by or inspired to create. Probably a little bit mix of the both, but I am fascinated by you, fascinated by your work and what you've done. I'm super excited to introduce you to my audience. So if you don't mind, for the folks that don't know you as well as I do so far, please just let them know who you are, Louisa.
Thanks, Brandon. I'm really excited to be on your show. Thanks for having me. So the Sonosphere is my passion project. It's my life work, and it's kind of like a baby too. It's something that I have a lot of passion and endurance and dedication to. Its life and its unfolding. And it started out in 2002. The Sonosphere was a concept that I created for my senior project at Western Washington University for my bachelor degree. And it started out as a installation art project that also had a sound element. I went to Western, I went to Fairhaven, which is a college within the university, and it's a college where you can design your own degree. I was not able to choose between the art, the music, and the science departments because I'm equally passionate about all three, and I just couldn't imagine my life without all of them, all three of those. So I chose to do a degree program where you can design your own degree, and I set out to combine subcategories from art, music, and science, and it all culminated in a final, what's called a concentration. That mine was called Transducing Human Consciousness Through Art, Science, and Music. And the challenge to doing a self-designed degree is that you also have to design, when you do your final project, you have to integrate all of the things that you are interested in. And it's a really big challenge. There's about a year of writing that leads up to this project and what it's going to be. And it was really hard to figure out what it was going to be. And I swear it was like a couple weeks before the due date, I got nothing and I'm trying to figure out what it's going to be. And I had a dream about, and it was weird. It was like somebody sitting in this chair in outer space, and there was a sphere spinning around the person in a chair, and there were speakers strapped to the chair. And that was like the most literal interpretation that my subconscious fed to me at that time. And that's pretty much probably all I could have understood at the time too. But so I took it really literally. And I went and I asked my dad, who helped pioneer the satellite dish industry. I told him about my dream and I said, would it be possible for someone to sit inside of a sphere that's spinning? And he, having done a lot of satellite dish construction, he immediately said, yeah, it's possible, but you're going to need a pole in the middle. That's what satellite dishes have, is this huge pole. These are the ones from the 80s that are like huge, and they had these massive motors to like point them to different galaxies and stuff. And so the first Sonosphere was built with a pole in the middle so that I could make a platform, which at the time was an upside down pyramid attached to this pole with the spinning sphere around it. And at the time I didn't have a motor, so I was literally just spinning it with my hand. As like a, interactive installation. And I went to like Sam Goody at the time. This was like 2002. I got some like really crappy speakers, and that's all I could afford, and like put them on there. And I bought like 2 of these little tiny systems so I could get like an array of speakers. And I bought some of those like plasma spheres that you put your hands on those balls, and like the little lightnings go to your hands and stuff. I put ribbons on it. I put glass. I made it like an art, oddity, like an installation. And my professors loved it. It was like really well received. I got it put in the university gallery for a month. Our family friend, Tom Robbins, came to try it when it was in the gallery at the university. And, my whole family just thought it was really cool. But, after that, after I graduated, it was kind of just like a fizzle out. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what's going to happen to it. But there, I did that. And I decided, sometime around 2008 to take it to Burning Man. So I took it to Burning Man, and I experienced some of the destruction that the playa provides. And I ended up having to leave part of it there, and I burnt part of it because I was so frustrated. And I came home with like half a Sonosphere and a destroyed sound system. And I was pretty much ready to give up when my phone rang in my back pocket, and I'm not kidding. This was so random. Some guy called me from England completely out of nowhere, said he had seen my Sonosphere on the internet somewhere. I'd put a website up briefly, and he had seen that. And he got my number, and he called me, and he said, I want to order one. And I said, lol, I don't know what I'm going to do, because it's half destroyed. And this guy's calling from England. And he said, well, how much would it cost to like remake it so I can try it? And I was like, well, a lot, like probably $5,000 or $10,000 to fix it and get a good version and rent a warehouse so you can come try it. And he's like, okay, great. Can I get your bank account number? And I was immediately like, okay, this is just a scam, whatever. But then I thought, coming back from Burning Man totally broke, I'm just going to give this guy my bank account number. Who cares? Maybe something will happen. And I got no money in there anyway. 3 days later, he had given me a large sum of money. So I was like, holy crap, this is real. So I set out, I built a new version that was based on the original version, just kind of like updated some things, and I rented a warehouse, and I put it up, and I prepared for this guy to come from England to see it. And so he comes, he tries it, he brought 2 friends with him. They loved it. And then he said, okay, now I want you to build me my own version, and I want like 2.0. Like I want like the next best version of this that you can think of. And I have a very large budget for this. So he had a budget of 80,000. So he wanted me to really go beyond with the materials, with the setup, and make like my ultimate version. So for that, I decided I needed help, and I could actually afford to hire some help this time. So then I hired Rusty Oliver, who owns Hazard Factory in Seattle, Washington, and he became my fabricator and my helper. He helped me kind of, purify my idea structurally, because the things I wanted to do, I needed someone who had that kind of engineering mind to tell me where I needed to strengthen, to make it safe for people to climb on and whatnot. So he helped me choose the right thicknesses of the materials. And, he also helped, I really wanted the next one to have like a round platform and not a triangle, and not a pyramid, which had a square base. I wanted it to be more round. So I needed some serious metal skills, which I did not have. So I hired Rusty. He was awesome. It took us about a year to build the second model, 2.0. I put it in a crate, shipped it to England, flew over there to install it. And this guy, he just wanted it for his own personal use. So that was 2.0. And I set it up and kissed my baby goodbye and went back home. And ever since then, I was like, dang, it feels weird having the coolest and bestest thing I've ever created be in England and never see it again. So then I immediately was like, okay, now I got to make 3.0, right? And I decided also to go back to school to get my degree in physics because I wanted to make it really a beast of science. I wanted to kind of, graduate from the metaphysical part of it and make it something that was truly powerful. I wanted the music to get into your bones. I wanted it to be something where you could lay on this sound bed and that the powerful waves and the frequencies would penetrate right into your body, through your muscles, through your flesh, right to your bones, and actually use your own skeleton as a resonant medium to resonate the whole rest of you. So that was my goal. Once, I stayed in the physics program for 5 years. I got up to the junior level. It was really a lot. Took every math class that is imaginable. And I really got a lot of good education, and particularly around resonance and, learning about the true nature of resonance and what I needed to do to truly resonate a human body, and what that would take. So after leaving the program, I figured I absorbed the knowledge that I needed to, and I left the program. I did not get that degree because I just wanted to get going on my career with the Sonosphere. And so then slowly, as I got money, as I could afford it, I started building this new model 3.0, the one that you see now in the pictures and online and on my TikTok. That's the newest model, version 3.0. And it's the most powerful Sonosphere yet. It has the most cutting edge sound system. It actually has two sound systems. One is a haptic transducer sound system, which deliver just purely vibrational like sounds, quote unquote. You don't hear them with your ears, you feel them with your body, because they're the same type of speakers that people use in like IMAX theaters. So there's that. And then the second type is also which is also included, is an ambisonic sound system, which has we've included 12 speakers, 8 around in a circle around your body laying down, and then 4 above your head. And then we have also a bank of sub bass bass bins, basically, and those cover the frequencies that the haptics. It basically bridges the frequency range between the haptic system and the mid-range system. So we have essentially 24 speakers in a close range, close packed sphere that goes around you, totally, completely focused on you. And we have also, my husband helped me with the coding and the mapping. Rowan Firethorne, he's been sort of like doing the software engineering portion of giving us the controls over all these speakers. And we have, the speakers are broken up into banks, and we have individual control over frequency, rate, like LFO rate, like how fast the wave is waving, basically. Is it like super fast vibration, or is it like slow, like a heartbeat, or like the ocean? And then we also have control over the phase shifting between all of those waves, so we can ratchet them in harmonic ways with relation to each other. So we can get these really cool harmonic overtones, which are really unique to the design. And then we also have control over the type of wave. So we can do square waves, sine waves, and triangle waves. And each one of those feels entirely different to your body. Additionally, the Sonosphere has these open sort of arcs. The arcs that you see with all the lights inside, those are hollow. So when we charge it with sound, we get these audible, resonant harmonic overtones. So it's like you are inside of an instrument, And the instrument is actually tuned to embrace you because your body mass is going to affect the point of resonance. And so we get different resonant numbers, different frequencies as the fundamental, depending on how big you are, your body mass, how much you weigh. So for each person, we custom tune the Sonosphere sound system, and we also choose the harmonics custom, and we also custom mix the meditation music or the soundscape over the top of that, and then we match them to each other. So it's like a completely custom mix. Our next move is to figure out how do we get all of this to be like an automated remote control system, so that we don't have to have two people to help you get in and get out and run it and stuff. So that's the short version, and I know it's kind of long, but that's where we're at.
The whole time you're explaining this and talking about it, I already know, I know some of the story. I've seen your posts and again, guys, all the ways, of course, to find her without question will be located down there. You have an incredible website, your Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok as well. So I've heard this before, but hearing you tell it, hearing the passion and your knowledge and the reason you went back to school to get, a degree in physics, no big deal. Something my brother did wholeheartedly right and whole assed and a degree in physics, and then now doesn't use it, by the way. I just kind of want to point that out for reference. I will be giving him shit about this. Yeah. And then you just went back just because it would help you build this incredible thing. The way you describe this is so next level. It is unbelievable to me that, number one, you came up with this. And yes, I love how you described it, that you had a dream and it was this simple, super rudimentary sort of thing. And then look what it turned into. But that's all you needed. It was the seed that was planted. And I love, too, that you were in that hot zone. There's this thing called Parkinson's Law. It's horribly named. But what it basically refers to is that a project will only take you as long as the time that you give it. Okay. So like if something took you, if you're given a month and you only give it 24 hours, you'll finish it in 24 hours, right? Had you started earlier, maybe, right? But coming down to the wire on those types of things puts an element of pressure on there as well. And that's, I find that creatively for me, I mean, I don't know if you're the same way, but you get to a point to where you're done thinking about it and figuring it out, and you just get out of the way and you let the muse gift you with something. Exactly.
And I was grateful that the muse gifted me with a vision that was actually attainable, like something that I felt like I could do.
We're all grateful that you took her up on it, because that's the thing about the muse, right? It only gives it to people that will do something with it. So well done. Yeah. It's a co-collective creative for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I always wanted to do something with my life that was going to benefit humanity. I knew I wanted to be a humanitarian to some effect. I've also always been an artist, hugely interested in science and science projects. And also I'm a musician and a singer. I play electric harp. I do electronic music production, and me and my husband have a little side project, side band that we work with. And so I really needed to pour my whole soul into something that was going to be a lifelong creative pursuit, that was also humanitarian, that was also not going to keep me bored. The Sonosphere is so customizable, and there's so many possibilities with what you can do with it, and so many opportunities to like evolve it more, create different models. It just seemed like the perfect thing. And because I was raised in the 80s, lots of really cool sci-fi came out, lots of really cool, believe in yourself, follow your heart, never give up kind of messaging. That really hit me on a soul level. And I also had a mom that reinforced those concepts. So I just really am like, I'm the kind of, animal that like bites in and never lets go. So I'm a honey badger.
This is why we had a meeting to set this whole thing up. And you and I found out that you and I have a lot more in common than one would think. Like, yes, we're both, aren't we? When's your birthday again? Mine's 82, September 82.
February 82.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So we're just a couple months there. So you and I grew up in that sweet spot, but like you, I grew up in a place, same era as you, that was just full of possibilities and just crazy imagination. And that imagination was fostered. And that is something, that's why I run around here going like, what are these kids doing with their iPad? Like, what are you guys doing with this shit? Like, play, there's a cool way to do this, and y'all have access to it. So what's awesome again about you as well is you're, again, like me, you have a ton of interests that add up to one thing that you can take all of those interests and put them into. Mine's the show. And it's been everything. I mean, even I had an Akashic reading with Rachel Horton White the other night. It's on the Expansive Insiders. Check that out, guys. Link in the show notes. And we went back into a couple of past lives of mine, and she was reading off a list of things where I was like, yeah, I'm all of those in this life. You know what I mean? But they were lifetime dedications in something else. And so like you, I bet if you did this, I'll hook you up with Rachel. Y'all can do like a value exchange swap. She'll give you a reading, let her take a spin on your sphere. So there's this crazy amount of cool shit that came out of that era, and I agree with that. Now, one of those things is you, because man, your passion with this, like the way that you are just so, yeah, that's what I'm doing. This is where I'm going, and fuck everything else. I absolutely love that because I'm the same way. Again, I just admire the shit out of you. So a couple of questions here for you. So why so deep into the sound healing aspect of it? Because we know that, harmonics and resonance and all of that, and I'm sure you're very familiar with this. So if you don't mind, just what's your perspective on like the nature of harmonics, resonance, frequencies, relationship to sound, all that shit?
Well, thanks for that question. It's one of my favorite topics. When I made the first model of the Sonosphere, I had just graduated from Western, and it just so happened to correspond with this center opening in my town. The center was called Wise Awakening. It's awakening to who we truly are with frequency. And that was on the front of the window. And I saw this place opening up, and I was like, what? This can't be real. Like, I just made this sound healing machine, and here's this like sound healing center that's like opening up. And, when I had first built the Sonosphere, I thought of it more as like an experience. I wasn't really thinking like healing, but this place had just opened, and it was a healing with sound center. So I was like, oh, that could be a thing. So I go in and I introduce myself to the owner, and I showed her what I had just made. She had purchased this other sound bed called the Interdimensional Sound Chamber, which was made by some other guy on the East Coast, and she had sort of based her business plan around this other sound bed. So she kind of was like, oh, I don't need like two of these things. I just want one.
Well, and you don't want to get in the middle of some East Coast, West Coast sound healing beef,
Yeah. And so she was like very impressed with what I built, but she was also like, no, thanks. So I didn't take that no for an answer, clearly, because I'm not that kind of person. So I just keep going back. I just kept going back in the shop like every week and talking to her. I'd stay at the front desk and talk to her about cool stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to get this lady to know who I am. And I just kept trying to be her friend and going in there a lot. And after about like 3 months of just like pursuing a friendship with her, she finally was like, okay, do you want a job? I'll just hire you. So she hired me to work at the Sound Healing Center, and I got a lot of exposure to the entire realm of this kind of industry, from singing bowls, tuning forks, bio-tuning forks, the interdimensional sound chamber, other sound beds, which, by the way, the sound beds are called Vibroacoustic Therapy. That's like the official title for what this kind of stuff is. And the interdimensional sound chamber was like a sacred geometry structure with sort of like a sound bed in the middle that was based off of like a massage table as the base structure. And it had transducers in it. It had a huge stack of amplifiers. And when I tried it at the center, I was kind of like, I guess the best term was like underwhelmed. I was like, I thought this thing was going to like rock my body. And I was on there, and it was just like little subtle, soft like vibes. And I'm like, man, this massage bed is like absorbing all the sound. Like, I could tell that all the padding, all the effort to like make it comfortable was taking away from the sound, like what it could do.
Yeah, the reason you were there.
Yeah, so I was like realizing that, the ultimate sound bed would be one in which, you had to be on something that was going to transmit vibration. And I mean like physical vibration, not like etheric vibration. So I just want to, kind of define that, how I use that word. When I say vibration, I'm talking about like you're at a concert and you feel the vibration from the bass bin, like pushing your entire chest in that's what I'm talking about when I say vibration.
Let me stop you here and ask you this. Were you big into the systems in your car? Remember when you turned 16 or you got your license or whatever? Were you big into like getting an amp and a woofer and all that stuff?
Yeah,
Is that why?
very. Yeah, because I love the way it made me feel. And
Yeah, right.
and anytime I go to a concert, I stand right at the front and always be right in front of the bin, right in front of the stacks. Even if my friends or whatever are trying to pull me away, like, Louisa, you're gonna be deaf by 35, if you stand that close. I like did not care.
Yeah.
And I have I have a deaf uncle who like blew out the speakers on his car like over and over again from turning them up because he wanted to feel it, because he was deaf but he could like feel the vibrations, and he inspired me too, just his stories. So searching for that like bone impact from the sound waves is like what I've wanted to feel. And I live in a house where we play music every day. We're always music is such a huge integrated part of my life that building something like this is just right up my alley.
It's your gift. It's a gift to the music that gives you so much, because now you've given the music itself a new way to be experienced. Like you get the chills that this gives me for you right now. Like how insanely incredibly cool this is that you have gifted music itself, because now new music is being creative. Like you create new sounds because of the way that you are tuning that thing. It's an instrument and it works with the resonant instrument that is your body. And like you said, sitting inside a niche, like when you said that, I was like, oh my God. Like that's exactly what I think of when I hear you talk about it. So I just wanted to point out like how amazing that this is, that yes, you were gifted with this, but also this is a gift to music itself. And this is a new way to experience something that I think definitely me up to this point had taken for granted. I know probably a shitload of people as well, that there's like, hang on, there's a new way to use my ears. You know what I mean? There's a new way to experience something that I have been led up to this point to be relegated to only as sound. Like only one faculty gets to enjoy that. But, bands figured this out long ago with concerts, with your visual element. You have then music videos and all of these extra, people are tying in extra faculties to this experience. And so it makes sense now that we actually get in something, and this is like a ride. Because I mean, have you really thought about the implications for this on like the gaming industry, the movie industry rather, and all of that? I mean, I know what you're doing is altruistic and it's awesome, but like you, my mind goes all the way to fucking a million from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of different models. So like, we're definitely going to have like a luxury model that's like remote controlled, that you just want to listen to music in it. And that's the purpose, We're also going to have a model that's for healing, that is specifically for like being able to dial in certain frequencies. Like sometimes when we're playing these harmonic chords, people will say, oh my gosh, you just resonated my trachea. You just resonated my brain cavity. You just resonated my sinus cavity. Anywhere in your body that you have a cavity, we can shake it. We can make resonance happen. So there's also like, it opens it up to like, we need to do some tests of some long-term clinical trials so that we can get some proof. Something I wasn't expecting that everyone is telling me is that the Sonosphere removes pain. Now, that I'm not allowed to say that it relieves pain, but this is what all of our clients are saying. So they can say whatever they want.
Well, but that's the point. Like, at what point are you able to say that? If a shitload of people say that, like, what percentage do you have to have for some agency to say that you can legally say that?
So I will need clinical studies done in a regulated by the FDA environment.
So in a biased environment.
Until then, I can say, what my clients are saying. I can say my testimonials, but I can't make that claim myself.
You know what? I'll say this though. The FDA thing, I hope that you do get that shot, and here's why. Because I'm picturing like you and I had the movies from the 80s and 90s where these kids were like the underdogs, right? And it was all the like the Sandlot and shit like that, to where like you then Goonies, exactly, where you walk into this established, well-to-do societal thing, and you walk in,
and
with your thing. And you got a little bit of duct tape you're putting on just for, real quick, because something, in the parking lot or whatever, and they're laughing at you. But then you win first place, you change everything, and fun is had by all. Like, I can't wait for that. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. And the formula for doing that has been, and it was told to you a million times back then. It's imagine, believe in yourself, and never give up. If you do those three things, this is real. This can be real. And I put it to the test, and it's true.
How does that feel right there? Like sitting with that.
It feels freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And part of how like what's true and where to go is like I always say, how do you follow your heart? That some people are like, yeah, well, my heart led me to this totally toxic relationship. I don't trust it now. It's like, yeah, but was that really your heart? Like your heart tells you to do things that are hard. Your heart will tell you to do things that you don't necessarily want to do because it's uncomfortable. It doesn't always tell you to do the satisfying thing, the quick thing. It tells you to do the hard thing. And if you do it, it is not satisfying at first. And there's nobody standing there being like, you made the right decision. Good job. It's like, you have to tell that to yourself. And also, we are also built with the chills. Like, have you guys ever experienced getting the chills? Right. So like, and we all have, most of us who are sensitive beings or we pay attention, we get the chills when something is true. That could be true for other people or it could be true for us. Like sometimes our friends are talking to us and we get the chills because it's true for them. Sometimes we're talking and we get the chills because it's true for us. Sometimes something just happens in our environment and we get the chills. So the number one rule, chills don't lie. So if you follow the chills and you do what's in your heart, that's your heart compass saying, boing, that's where you want to go. That's the target. That is something I'd followed forever. My grandma taught me about the chills, how to follow them, what they're trying to tell you based on where in your body the chills are happening.
Ooh,
like
tell me
sometimes
that.
you get like chills up your legs. When somebody's talking and you're getting chills for them, they come up your legs. When it's something that's true for you, that's coming from your higher self or from God or whatever, it comes through your head and goes down your spine. And if you get like full body chills, that's like your entire body, it's true for the world. Wow. So it's like a universal truth or something.
That's awesome.
So I've followed that my whole life. It's never been wrong. And I mean, never wrong. So that's like the one thing that I can completely trust and rely on that makes me feel like no matter what happens, I have a line to the spiritual. I have a line to the divine. I have a line to what's true and right. And no one can take it away from me. And no one can tell me what to do in like, to try to like confront that. There is no confronting that. It's the ultimate truth. So as long as I be faithful to that, then everything is on the highest and best path that it possibly can be. And when you are on that path, you start seeing the numbers, you start seeing the breadcrumbs, 111, 222, 444, even 666. That's a sacred number too. So like, to me, the 111 is the ultimate path. And if you see 222, then you're parallel to the ultimate path. You're just maybe like a little bit off, but you're still going parallel. You go 333, same thing. You're just like a little bit far from it, but you're going in the right direction. The more 111s I see, the more excited I get. And sometimes the right path also is lame. Sometimes it doesn't feel good. Sometimes you're breaking up with someone. Sometimes you're getting arrested. Sometimes you're like broken down on the side of the road and you see the 111, it's like,
get fucked, not now. Yeah.
Yeah. The right path is hard. It's not the easy path, but it's the right path. It's where you're supposed to be. It's your path of the ultimate destiny. Yeah. So your highest potential is that path. So I've always wanted to actualize my highest potential.
Well, you're doing the shit out of it, dude. And you got plenty of time, which is great. We got plenty. We're just getting going. You feel that too, right?
So,
yeah.
I do. I just turned 40, so I'm kind of at a crossroads. And I suspect my life is, probably close to half over, but I'm excited for the second half of this shit.
This year's Saturn return in 2 years. It's our Saturn return. So both of us just turned 40. I hear you. Yes, but same thing. I see it. Like, this is like the precipice. This is like, oh, finally. It feels like the first half of our life. We were like walking through a house just figuring out what everything was, right? Okay, how's this place work? What's going on here? Whatever.
Exactly.
And it feels like now we've made it to the back door, and everything was in black and white back there. But like the Wizard of Oz, when she opens that damn door, now we're at the back door, and there's no fence. It's an open, expansive world of possibilities and sunshine, and there's all sorts of dope shit going on out there for us. That's how this feels. And so I hear you, and I'm right there with you. And so of course we connected at this time. It makes complete sense. So I want to come back to something you said before I talked to you about the bass in your car, because I got excited about that, because I was the same way. I wanted systems. I was telling my wife the other day, I was like, I miss having a system in my car, like just the bass, like just let me feel it. You know, I'm going to bump what I want, but give me the damn bass. So that's just interesting. Again, another synchronicity here. Okay. So I believe whenever I diverted us where I did, I wanted to come back to when you were describing what you had learned from the sound chairs that were at the place that you were working at, the sound healing environment, and that you had discovered that the padding was the issue, and that something needed to be more conductive sound-wise, right?
Yeah. And I got a lot of, this is kind of what made me want to go do my physics education, because I knew that I didn't know enough about materials. So I did the physics, and then I also got a minor in material science. And the material science was really fun. It was like you're just in these laboratories, like breaking shit. Breaking shit. You're just breaking pieces of plastic, pieces of carbon. Like you're just like, how much can I stress out this piece of material before it finally gives in and breaks? And how thick does it have to be? It's going to break at different times depending on how thick it is too. And like, so I started to get like an intuitive sense for materials, which was really important. So ultimately, the material I chose for the Sonosphere platform is acrylic plexi. I had originally chosen tempered glass, but I decided that it was too risky to use the glass, because if it did break, regardless of being tempered glass usually has a layer of thin plastic in the middle that will like kind of concave in if it's ever broken, that will help a person from like going through, but it still will cut you. It's still dangerous. It's just not as reliable as acrylic plexi. So then, I decided to choose plexi, but the industry of acrylic plexi, a lot of it is for like airplane windows. There's different thicknesses, and the thickness that I needed to support one or two people's weight up to like very heavy people, maybe like up to 600 to 1,000 pounds of weight, plus 120 pounds for the 10 transducers that we're putting on there, was going to be like a half a ton of weight that it had to hold. And so none of the thicknesses that are commercially available for regular stuff was going to work. So I called up an airline material supplier, and I asked, what is the literal largest thickness that I can buy, in a large piece, because I wanted a whole piece that was like 7 feet across. And it's really hard to get them that big. Like everything is just cut up into these little pieces, because they always assume that you're making something small or a window or, and I wanted this massive piece. So it turns out that the only industry that makes these massive pieces really, really thick are for dolphin and whale enclosures that hold like thousands of tons of water and these massive mammals at SeaWorld and shit. So, and Texas was one of the only places that actually manufactured it. So, and I was forced to buy a massive piece, that would be like the whole sidewall of a pool, of a containment pool for a porpoise or a whale. And
they wouldn't even trim it down for you?
No, and they did go out of their way to find me a remnant, which for them was like still 14 feet long.
Wow.
And it had to be put on a flatbed trailer and driven up to Seattle. And I called 15 different laser outfits to see who could cut it into a circle for me, and I got rejected every single step of the way because it was too big, and they kept saying, no, it's too big, it's going to break our machines, blah blah blah. Well, I finally found a place that finally said yes, and I took it there, and they cut it out, and it broke their machine. And they told me they would never cut it out again. So, but at least I got my one. Since then, My dad and I have created a jig that is going to cut them from now on. That's in the shop, and we're actually just using wood cutting tools, but with acrylic miter saw blades.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And I had to make a special table and a special, heavyweight rig to like do this, but it's going to be the part of the manufacturing process that we handle ourselves.
Awesome.
Because it's just really intense. But yeah, that was the biggest, most expensive ass piece of plastic I've ever bought. And I just was like biting my hand the whole time. Like, what am I doing? Oh my God. Because I'm like, if this doesn't work out, then I'm saddled with this huge piece of plastic that you cannot recycle. You cannot get rid of. It'll just be a forever thing that my ancestors from here on out will have to deal with this massive piece of plastic.
That's one way to look at it, or it's the first piece of your new dolphin enclosure for when your grandkids want to build one.
I was just like, holy shit. After buying that, there was no going back.
Yeah.
And it was thousands of dollars. It was like $4,000. And I'm like, after that investment, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing. You can't go back from this, So that was the beginning of the massive investment that this thing has been.
So what is the 7-foot circle for? Is that
so the 7-foot circle is for you to lay on. And I figured 7 feet was like the minimum, that would accommodate most people's height to be able to spread out like Vitruvian Man, like Leonardo da Vinci's Man Inside a Squared Circle. We wanted people to be able to, put their arms all the way out, put their legs out all the way, move around, be able to, be in several different positions. You can also sit on the Sonosphere, and it's a completely different experience. If you like sit cross-legged in the middle, you still get an amazing audio experience, and the sound like swirls around you. We've got it all programmed to like move and stuff. Sounds really 3D. But yeah, the 7 feet was kind of the minimum. And I haven't yet had, like a super giant person come in and be like, I'm over 7 feet tall. I
was about to say, like if Shaq wants one, would you make him one?
Yeah. Well, we could make it bigger, but this is like the minimum. And sometimes people come in and they're like, oh, could you just make maybe like a smaller version that you could take around? It's like, well, yeah, but you're looking at it. This is the smaller version. Like this is literally the minimum of what you need to be able to, have this be accessible to most humans. And like my husband is 6'4" and he fits on there. But even people that are like approaching 7 feet, they do have to like bend their knees a little, to really keep themselves on the speakers and get contained. So yeah, it's pretty big, and it had to be all one piece because we're putting really big vibrations through this thing. We don't want it to crack.
Yeah.
I was not going to drill any holes in this thing because I do not want those holes to become cracks. So we have 10 of these speakers to put on. And so I had to find a very special type of adhesive that was actually a chemical weld to, first attach these things to another piece of the same plexi, and then attach those pieces with the chemical weld. I had to do a ton of research about, what material to use in that to chemically weld these two together, where this is not a glue. This is a chemical process that bonds them molecularly. And they are great. I mean, they are holding strong. I haven't seen a single issue with them like wanting to fall off or anything. It was also tricky figuring out how to keep on accessing the hardware. Like if one was going to burn out, how do we replace it without having to undo that weld? So that was a really big piece of, my mental gymnastics that I had to go through to like figure out how to do that actually. And then also it's a flat, hard platform, right? So how do you make this even have a modicum of comfort? So that's where I started pouring and making molds for my own silicone body pads. Because I learned in material science that silicone is a great transmitter of sound. It transmits vibration very well, which you can kind of get a sense for like in a Jello mold. Like it's like Jello. Certain strengths of silicone can be squishier than others. I don't know if you've ever seen like one of those mouse pads for your wrist.
Yeah.
It's all like squishy, but it has like a shiny wipeable surface on top of the squishy. That's what gave me the idea, was looking at my mouse pad, and I wanted to make that. So I did a bunch of research, about encapsulation, which is the process by which you put a squishy silicone inside of a wipeable silicone. And because we got to sanitize these things after each person. So we need it to be wipe downable. We need to be able to disinfect this. If the vibrations make people spill their body fluids, we need to be able to clean it up.
Has that ever happened?
Not yet.
Okay.
But there's been a lot of farts.
Okay, that's fair. That'd be the first thing I'd do.
That's the first thing.
Immediately.
I mean, it just really makes all your systems start moving and working. And
yeah, your resonating cavities, you got queefs and farts all over the place in there.
All over the place, you know. And we didn't know if there would be like orgasm potential.
I was going to ask if there was any sort of sexual. I have it on my list to ask you. Don't even worry about it.
We have had people tell us that this feels tantric. It feels like they're being touched by sound. That they're having like a it's touching in the sexual realm, a touch-free, intimate experience with sound itself, which is amazing. It could also be a really big thing for people that are like asexual or people that don't like to be touched, that never get to experience intimacy.
Yep.
It could be really, any of those folks. It might be great for them.
Yep. I mean, what you're doing with this is just so remarkable. I just got the chills for the world because it came from all over. I know how it goes now. Thank you for that. Because of the implication, I mean, really on massive scale. Because now, I mean, yeah, people wanted a smaller one, but like you said, this is the smallest one. And I think that that because this isn't like this is the smallest one. Like this is nothing compared to, I think, something you will see in your lifetime where an entire room of people can sit in this thing with hundreds of speakers spinning around, several concentric rings. And maybe you end up building a spaceship because you spin it at a certain rate with certain frequencies. And, maybe, I don't know. I think you could be like opening a portal or making a goddamn Stargate or time machine or something.
I've thought of that. Like, I'm thinking, like, what if we hit the perfect frequencies and the person just disappears or something?
Yeah,
like, who knows?
You got like a crystal yoni again, and then that you didn't hear about, and then all of a sudden they bleep out of existence, and then they're like gone. That.
Yeah, and there is another design I have in the pipeline that is going to be for 20 people. That I'm planning on bringing to like on the festival circuit.
Hell yeah.
And it's not going to have any moving parts, but it's going to be like a massive floor installation essentially. And I don't want to say a lot because I'm still keeping that one secret, but there is going to be a group version. And certainly on the Sonosphere, you can sit down. And if I did build a unit that was intended for you to just sit in and sitting up cross-legged, then it could be smaller.
See, I'm thinking that for like therapy, for like if you could think of like couples therapy or something, to where a couple could sit in this thing together, cross-legged, together facing one another, maybe look in one another's eyes, however it goes, and then there'd be a silicone, the whole apparatus, but specifically for multiple people's uses, even like a family, like you and your kids and husband and kids can get in this thing and sit there.
We've done that with this one, and we've actually had some couples come for date night to be on the Sonosphere, and they do sit yab yum, facing each other. And even sitting that way, though, your legs are stretched out behind the other person, and they do take up most of the platform. Like humans, you are big. You don't think you are, but you are.
Especially with you when you're paying for material by the square inch. You're like, y'all are huge. Get out of here with that. You're like, it's 7 feet. But how much have you, because you walk through this and again, we're so much alike doing the show. I get to a point and I'm like, I need a website. Okay. I had a buddy set it up and then after that I ran it. And I was like, okay, well I need like graphics and stuff. And then I was like, and so I just figured out how to be a graphic designer. And I was like, I need to figure out how to do camera shit. So I just did that. Like you go, okay, what's next? Got it. I'll learn what I need to learn about that and move on. Exactly. So that you can apply it to your mission, because you always have this mission forward focus. And that's same thing. That's like everything is like, okay, how does this benefit us all moving forward together? And here's my vehicle I do that in. So I'm going to just keep souping the vehicle. Yeah.
And I don't get caught up on like, oh, I could, I need to master every category. I don't. I just know that I need to like figure out this one little piece that I need for what I'm doing, and then I can move on. So, and I'll often like call an expert and be like, what should I do? And some people are very nice and will like tell me what I should do. But then other times I get the door and I have to like go on YouTube and, sort through a bunch of, stuff and piece together what I should do. And that's harder, but I have done that too.
It's part of you. That's part of who you are. That's how we learn. I get it. I do the same thing. I'm just like, okay, well, this could be fucking super easy, or I could do it my way and just learn it from the ground up. Because now think of all the things that had they have been just given to you with the ease of which you would wish them at the beginning, then you wouldn't have learned as much. The knowledge that you get niching into some of this stuff affects the way that you do things. For example, the way that I do video production has to do with what skills I know in my graphic design Canva, right? So I know what I can do in Canva that will then work over here, but I also know Canva's limitations, but what DaVinci Resolve is what I use for videos. I know what that can do. So there is an overlap there, but knowing the strengths of both or whatever, or what your capabilities and limitations are in either, you can make up for one and the other. So this type of diversified autodidacticness that you've got, I empathize with. This resonates so hard. And I just adore the shit out of you. I think you're doing something so amazing. I know you are. I'm looking at this, and I'm also like feeling all the people that I know who do things in music in the spiritual community, and just people that would find this so fucking dope. This appeals to so many people. Like, I'm gonna reach out to Tommy Cha. I'll send him a link to this. He's gonna want you to build him one. Like this shit is like so fucking cool. So I wanted to ask, of course, kind of down the line here, then psychedelics and this. I've been biting my tongue about it the whole time. So, representing another faction of the audience here, psychedelics and Sonosphere. What do you think?
Mind-blowing combination. I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, it is insane. Like, full transparency, my husband and I tried this. We did some mushroom with Sonosphere combination, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, the Sonosphere already feels so amazing without anything. You add the psychedelics, it's just even deeper, because then it opens up this entire psychic funnel that's just like telling you everything that you need to know about your situation, whatever. Your body needs healing, your mind needs healing, your relationship to the world. And when I got in there, it was just pouring all this information to me, like, about psychedelics and the Sonosphere. It was like, you have got to get this out. People need this. People need to know about the combination, and who are you gonna, and I was asking, I was saying out loud, I'm like, who do I tell? What do I do? And like, MAPS came to mind, like Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, like that popped into my mind. So like I told MAPS, I sent them an email and was like, you guys have to see this. And I just got crickets. Like, I just got ignored. I also applied to be a speaker at the Psychedelic Convergence in LA coming up. I also got rejected for that. So I don't think that they're understanding, like, and maybe I'm not explaining it right, but it's like,
not that. I'll tell you, number one, it's not that. Your eloquency is not the issue in understanding.
Okay. But it's just like intense. And we've had clients like be respectful and call us ahead of time and say, hey, can I show up for my session on a microdose or a medium dose of something? And, we're all about that. We are. And, we of course want to make sure that the person's like experienced, they're an experienced psychonaut. We don't want to necessarily be responsible for somebody's like first time or something. Yeah. But yeah, if someone already is comfortable in that realm and they want to bring some to their session, I'm down. And it is just incredibly healing. Somebody was like, I could stand on the floor, but it's not vibrating at the perfect frequency. So it just kind of what it does is like after a while on there, you start feeling like liquid. You start feeling like you are jello. People say they feel like they're floating, that they're getting wrapped up in some burrito of sound. And your fascia start to release, your muscles release. Your autonomic nervous system starts taking over. And your conscious mind starts to shut up because it's the sphere it was spinning around your head. It's spinning. That gives your mental, thinking mind, your monkey mind, something to focus on. And it allows your right brain to take over. And that lets your autonomic system kind of go into a space where it's in charge now. And you're in a really special, like, somatic space with yourself. You're in a liminal space where your whole body is on the same page. It's all realigned. It's united. Every single cell in your whole body is vibrating at the same exact frequency. And when I say vibrating, I mean that very literally. So it's like a reset. It's a reset of everything in your body. Some people have even told us that it like triggered some kind of histamine reaction in them, because some people were like, their body was like, what's happening? I got to set off the histamines. They're getting like sleepy, and maybe like their nose starts running, and their body thinks like something's happening, something maybe bad is happening. So I'm going to have this histamine reaction. Not a bad reaction, but just like
so
little signals in certain people. Yeah. So we do, that's helped us to understand, we need to ask people in our questionnaire before the session, are you a highly sensitive person? We now take like a medical survey, because there's some people that shouldn't try the Sonosphere. There's some people that have like pacemakers or medical equipment or epilepsy. There are some conditions and some people that it's probably not safe for them to try the Sonosphere. It's not for everyone, but it's for almost everyone. And we are really interested in the healing possibilities with this model. I seriously don't think that anything this strong has been made with sound waves. I'm very confident that this is the strongest piece of vibrational therapy equipment that exists. And so because of that, we're really interested in the overarching implications of what we could heal with this. Like I said, our clients who have fibromyalgia and arthritis have told us that it is causing them to have less pain. But further than that, what I've thought of and what I want to try is people who are paralyzed. Could we get some nerve interaction? Could we get some nerves to wake up and re-enliven and start finding connections again? If we had repeated therapy sessions, that's a long shot. Like, I'm just saying it's maybe it's in the realm of possibility. It's something I want to try.
Yeah.
So that will be part of the clinical studies as well.
That's so interesting. It's so fast. I mean, because again, the implications, this is so much more than just something you sit in and hang out. But it's that too. You know what I mean?
That's what's so cool about
it.
That's the thing is it's as deep or as not deep as you want it to be. It's a lot of things.
Same with the show. It's as deep as you want it to be. I'm telling you, this is your expanding reality. This is so fucking cool. This is so fucking cool.
And like, even for like, video people, like I was thinking of, it would be really cool to build like a Sonosphere that instead of lights, it's just a totally white structure with no cutouts. So it's just got all these white flat surfaces that you can like do projection mapping onto and put it in like a 360-degree projection mapped dome and like have the whole thing be like VR, AR, experiences of like the solar system or the James Webb Telescope adventure, or like, there's so many options for, experiences that would get you deeper in nature, science. Those are the kind of experiences that I want to build to, give people a deep immersion into natural science.
I'm just curious, what RPM can you get those things up to, the spin? I see the smile.
It's pretty fast. I don't like turning it up to top rate because it's scary. It does scare people. But the motor that I have right now is a very like chill motor. Like I could easily put an even stronger motor to the point where you wouldn't even be able to see the person in there because it'd be spinning so fast.
Damn.
Now the sphere has like some purposes that, it's basically a waveguide and a mental focal point. It could also easily be removed from the whole structure and it would still be fine. But it does have like a kind of hypnotic, function. And then it's also, it's a waveguide for like reflecting waves. So like when the waves emanate out from the sphere, they'll like bounce off the walls and try to come back in a non-harmonic way. And the sphere will just kind of like mess with those waves and like cut them off so they can't come back in to mix with what we've set up in there.
Yeah, it's like a diffuser also. God, that's
it's like
awesome.
A diffuser. Yeah. And then also because it's made out of copper,
yeah,
it picks up static electricity. It picks up errant radio waves out of it. It just kind of cleans up the electromagnetic space of the room and gives you kind of a purified space inside. But again, I have to collect some data to prove that it's doing that. But that's what I'm experiencing from it personally.
Have you done any studies with plants on this thing?
Not yet, but I do have a friend who's doing vibrational plant medicine and like listening to the music made by plants, setting up those little pad sensors on the leaves, and we have a microphone that feeds into the system so we can talk to our experiencers. And this makes it really cool because you can input music on top of, or a speaking voice on top of the music that we already have. So like you could also bring your therapist.
I was about to say affirmations, stuff like that.
Yep. You could bring your hypnotherapist, you could bring your somatic or EMDR therapist, EMDR, sorry. And if you have a psychedelic integration therapist, they could talk you through, your experience.
What about a hypnotic regression in this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
it would be hugely deep with this. And with the plants, you could play some plant vibrations, into the music system, into the frequency system.
I figured that as well as the copper, as well as the healing frequency. So, the copper and electroculture, have you studied any of that or looked into it?
Yes. Copper has some really interesting properties, especially when it's in certain shapes, like a pyramid. Pyramids have really special properties. Some of those are, really controversial in a science, way, but lots of weird things have been observed when using a copper pyramid, especially over living things like plants. But maybe this is a good segue to talk about those magic frequencies, because I get this question a lot. People are like, did you try Tesla's frequencies? Did you try solfeggio?
Yeah.
Did you try 432 and all these ones that people are obsessed with?
Can I guess what you're going to say before you say it?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Does it have something to do with the Doppler effect because it's spinning, that they don't connect correctly, or they don't give out what you're looking for? Does the Doppler effect have anything to do with it?
No, but the Doppler effect is definitely, part of it. It's part of the sonosphere. It's part of what makes it cool.
Yeah.
Because we do have some close range speakers that are separated by a certain distance, and there is a slight delay, how your ear hears it. And we've set it up so that those delays overlay in the perfect way to create even more overtone harmonics. So it's really cool. But yeah, the frequencies that people are talking about, they are, people think that they're very like, preset, that like you can play 432 and everybody's gonna, hear the same thing. They're going to experience the same thing. 432 is just magical, right? And for certain reasons, as a musician, I will say that, instruments and songs tuned to 432, they do have this sort of like special, relaxed, more natural feeling. You don't have to strain to hit the note perfectly. It's like if you're a naturally flat singer, it's going to be great for you. But magic frequencies, like what Tesla was using, like when you hit the resonant frequency, what happens? Why is that so special? What is going on there? And it's because each system of resonance, and a very simple example for a system of resonance is like a bowl of water that you're like playing like a crystal singing bowl or something with water inside. And you can see the geometrical pattern start to emerge when you hit that magic frequency, right? And people will say, oh, I saw the geometries happen in the water and it happened at 90 hertz. So now 90 hertz is like this amazing magical frequency. Tell the world. But actually, that 90 hertz is only going to work in your bowl of water. It's only going to work in your system with the temperature of your air, the thickness of your bowl, the amount of water that you put in, and the frequency that you're playing it. So you have to have all of those variables be exactly identical for that 90 hertz to be the resonant frequency. So that's why when we put different people in the Sonosphere, we're going to have different resonant frequencies be the magic frequency, because they weigh different amounts. It's going to take different amounts of energy to move their body. And they have different densities. Like the human body has like an average density that's probably about the same for all of us, but the distribution of those densities is not the same. And so we have these variables that are going to change every time, which means our system is not the same every time we measure it. So, as we take data and we are taking down the frequencies as we find them for different weights of people, we're coming up with a set of data basically. And this data set can be used to find a governing equation that governs the Sonosphere and how it works. And so we are collecting those numbers so that we can make a computer program that we can just put your weight in and then it'll spit out, the exact frequencies that we need for you. Right now, it's in this experimental phase. We're still collecting data. And I want to get at least 1,000 data points to get that equation. So that's how we're getting it. And also the measuring of the fundamental frequency. It's like, how do you know you've hit it? Well, we're doing it by ear right now, but we just bought a system that's going to measure it quantitatively with a computer and microphone. So you've probably heard of like real-time analysis software, which people use in like recording studios to figure out where the resonances are happening in their room so they can cancel them out.
That's right.
And in our application, we don't want to cancel them out. We want to actually boost them. So we're going to use that same equipment to find the resonance frequencies and how we can make them feedback stronger. But basically how we're doing it by ear, and this is how we know that we've hit the resonant fundamental. So the fundamental frequency is the lowest possible resonance frequency that can be hit. And sometimes that's a subharmonic tone in the sub-bass region. And sometimes it's, but for most humans, it's somewhere between 37 and 41 hertz.
Is that the brown note, the one that makes you shit yourself?
I mean, they say that, but it is the one. I mean, that's the one that the other sound chairs are using exclusively. So like some of the other sound chair equipments, they just play 40 hertz and they're just like, here you go, 40 hertz. We get really specific. We're like, oh, you weigh this much, so it's going to be actually like 41.2 hertz.
Wow.
So we get really specific. And then based on the fundamental, so we can hear it resonating, we can hear it ringing. When you hit a resonant frequency, there's an amplitude spike. If the resonance that you're watching is in an electrical circuit, then you're going to get a voltage spike. If the resonance that you're watching is in an audio spectrum, you'll get a volume spike. So whether it's your spiking voltage, spiking volume, you're going to get this amplitude spike that apparently comes out of nowhere. And this is what fascinated Nikola Tesla. He was like, I can take down a building with vibration, because he understood this concept of like layering those resonances on top of each other to create a feedback loop. And we all know feedback loops, they go to infinity or they go to zero. So like if you're talking and you put your microphone in front of a speaker and you hear the awful sound of feedback, if you leave it there, what's going to happen? It's going to go to infinity. It's going to break your microphone. It's going to become so loud that it could break your ears. Honestly, it could break some windows around you. So that's why everybody's like, oh my God, it's feeding back. We have to turn it off. Yeah, that's because it's real. It's going to go to infinity. It's going to break some shit. And then the other type of feedback is feedback cancellation, where it goes to 0. You get two things that equal and opposite smashing together, that cancels out and it goes to 0. So obviously we're interested in both because we want to use them. You got the part that goes to infinity, and then you got the part that goes to 0. And if you add two systems together that do those two things, you've got two controls for this wild energy. So it's like you can bring it, to the point that you want the intensity, and then use the canceling part to kind of like hold it there. Wow. Right?
It's like creating a force field and then creating a force field to hold the force field that you created. Yes,
exactly. Because we want to bring people to the maximum resonance, but not explode them, right?
Yeah. Okay. Then that's the question. How do you know you're not going to like pop someone off and just spontaneously combust a motherfucker?
Exactly. So this was always one of my worries about doing.
Yeah, well, you made the silicone wipeable. We know that. But beyond that, what about those people that want to get into it?
Yeah. So I wanted it to be safe, and I was worried about people putting their heads directly on the platform because I didn't know if that was going to burst some brains or what. I was the first one to try it because I wanted to make sure, try it on myself first. And I was just being funny with Rowan. I'm like, this could be goodbye, but here we go. But it does really buzz your noggin. I mean, I made silicone pillows for the Sonosphere, but when you put your head right on there, you can feel your brain like vibrating against your skull, and it is the weirdest sensation you have ever had. I don't know how many people know that the surface of the brain actually has no pain sensors, so you can't feel like pain, or you can't literally feel your brain but you can feel like your skull has sensors, so you're feeling something in there rattling against your skull, but it's on the inside. None of us are used to that feeling. It's the weirdest freaking feeling. It's just so weird. But yeah, so basically it's all about the volumes. We just got to keep the volumes under control. So like if somebody were to come in and just like crank them, you could hurt yourself. You could hurt your ears. We might have, you could probably make your ears bleed. Like, I don't know, bad things would happen. It's just, so we want to keep the resonance, under control using volumes. And, the fundamental frequency is the strongest one. So once we get that one dialed in, then we do some simple math. And I do mean very simple, to figure out the other notes that we're going to play, because we play a chord basically. So it's like we can choose octaves, we can choose harmonic fifths, harmonic thirds, harmonic sevenths, diminished chords. I mean, you name it. Any chord that you can play on a piano, you can play on the Sonosphere in a vibrational, like literal physical vibration.
That's incredible. So you could feel the vibration of, let's say a chord, for instance, 3 notes. So you can feel the root, the fifth, and the octave.
Yep. And
really?
we have 4 banks. So the next Sonosphere, I want to put 5. Because I've been reading some really trippy stuff about cell regeneration when it's exposed to 5 frequency chords.
What?
Which is the work of Robert Buchanan. He's passed away now, but he's a cymatic sound healing pioneer. And he's somebody that I've looked up to for a really long time. So he's all about the 5 part harmony. And I tried 4, also mainly because it was, within my realm of affordability. Adding a fifth like adds another amplifier. It adds more sound equipment. It adds a lot of stuff. It ups the price for manufacturing. So I wanted to keep it, reasonable at first, but especially when it comes to the long-term studies, when we're doing more like healing stuff, I want to get like the mega ultra healing Sonosphere. Then I'm going to do the 5.
Pull the training wheels off. Absolutely. Yeah. And then you have to have one in the R&D budget where there's one that you just have over, and you can make it as prettier as whatever as you want, and just like put a watermelon on it and see if you can explode it, and like find the resonant frequencies of shit just to make explode. And that's part of your R&D budget. Okay.
Right. Exactly. That's gonna be the fun part.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, you should make a video and put salt on the Sonosphere and like get all the cymatic patterns. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. So we tried that. And guess what? It didn't work.
Why didn't it work?
Because
you need a single tone.
It was so disappointing. We used a single tone actually, but why it didn't work is because the salt is infinitesimally small mass compared to the mass of the platform itself. It's actually really stable.
What about creating a smaller platform that sits on top of it? So that way you don't have to move your molds or anything like that. You basically create like a walk, kind of. You know how
we thought of doing that, but it was like then it would just be the same as putting a speaker under, because then your system becomes the bowl you have the salt in.
Right.
So if we really want to show what the Sonosphere system does,
gotcha,
then we got to show something else. So the salt, basically from the perspective of a grain of salt on the Sonosphere platform, it's actually a pretty substantially stable existence. Even during an earthquake, the salt is like, I'm just going to chill because the waves are so huge. They just pass over the salt. So the salt just sat there. It didn't do anything. Because I didn't build it to vibrate salt. I built it to vibrate humans and their jello. So like I think I need like a bigger mass of jello or a bigger mass of GAC or, baking soda and water, some like a non-Newtonian fluid or something. Then I could probably get some cymatic patterns from something with a little bit more substance and mass. So we're going to try that next.
Again, in the R&D budget, if you could, like, let's say you build a 4-foot one, that's fine. And then have a dish that's just 4 foot, that's what it is. It's basically like a shallow reservoir, maybe a few inches thick that goes all the way around. So the thickness of your band, just put like a mini Petri dish on top of it, right? Fill that with the particulate of some kind. And you could change this out, whatever it is. Because what I'm thinking here is because you have a spherical environment for sound going on. What we have all noticed, and anyone who's done study on it, this is what you've done is one of a kind. So this would apply to the studies done in cymatics as well. Anybody that's done that, it's been a 2D experience. What I'm thinking with you is that if you give it some sort of depth in this and you put some material and some particular whatever in it and it spins, perhaps we're going to get some 3D things, like maybe some topography. Maybe there's sort of how the square and the circle is represented in a crop circle, but then people see UFOs that are cubes with spheres in them, right? And so it's a smaller version of a different dimensional concept. You have the vehicle for the different dimensional concept, perhaps. By creating that environment for it, I bet you'd find something pretty dope.
Yeah, and we need to, because I believe that's what's happening already inside your body.
Yes.
But we can't like see it happening because it's inside you. So we want to come up with another, example, another, presentation where we can be like, here's something that we are resonating and it's doing this. Imagine what it's going to do to you.
And maybe beyond the body, it does this, like our whole reality is created this way. So think of like if you want to just say flat earth, I'm looking at your website, I'm looking at it right now. And so your Sonosphere, I'm looking at this, and that's kind of a model for a flat earth type of a model with an as above, so below. You have an underworld, you have an upper world, all that. Let's just take it with the 2D here. So let's say that you have that flat experience, that perhaps that this is what's going on with our entire environment. You may have just simulated everything, and by different frequencies with this, like, let's say dish, let's say that there is a certain type of material that you could put in there that does mimic sort of and can hold stable with the frequencies tuned a specific way. They'll hold that form, and maybe you make like a goddamn dinosaur come out of that thing and walk around, anthropomorphize and walk around made of the same substance that's in this thing, but based on the frequencies, it animates the objects.
Well, this has been done actually by Hans Jenny, who's one of the grandfathers of cymatics. He used water and also water with baking soda, which makes the non-Newtonian fluid, best made famous by Nickelodeon's GAC and exploding slime. So you get this sort of like high density slime essentially that will stay in shape if it's being compressed, but it will flow into a liquid if there's no pressure. So then they have been able to resonate bowls of this stuff to turn into shapes that look like the back of a turtle, that look like, these certain bugs, and different life forms, different larvas, different, even the beginnings of human life, even to look like the beginning of a fetus, growing. So there's all with sound, just with these various overlaying frequencies.
Everything was created from first words in the Bible. Let's talk about how God created everything with the word,
The word, exactly.
Everything is with this. This is fascinating, Louisa.
It's
Absolutely.
it's the intelligence of life, like, right? So first, like, the God came and made the firmament, like that's supposed to be step one. The firmament is made. So that's like the womb in which everything will live. It's the environment, right? And then with the second step of Genesis, God created the word, and then there was life. So what is that? That's divine intelligence. That's design. That's divine and design. And so that's why, everything's fractal. Everything in nature is organically fractal. And it is self-referencing iterations of some seed, some geometrical seed idea. That's why a tree can grow from a seed. And a human can grow from a single cell. Like, everything that is divinely designed, has this property of self-referencing, fractal, geometric harmony. And anything that is not from nature doesn't have that. So to me, that the presence of harmonic geometry indicates that it's it's in the divine harmonic design. So that's why when I built the Sonosphere structure and the way that I laid out the speakers and everything, it had to be geometrical, quote, sacred geometry. I used that on purpose because I knew that sound was from nature. It had to be round. There ain't no square things going on in the Sonosphere. Nothing on it is square. Everything on it is round because that's the divine design. So I look to nature to inform me about what would receive it the best. So it is designed with that in mind. It's very much, anytime you take sacred geometry, sacred proportions into your designs, you are going to get something really exquisite. You are going to get something very beyond what's been done. And, I look to a future where our homes are built on these principles. I know people who are trying to make this a reality, to where every single portion of our life and the way that we live on this earth has been taken into consideration of, like, what is harmonic with the natural design, with the design of nature, and the design of how living things can be in harmony with nature. And these principles are fundamental. Sacred geometry is a design principle. And I hardly ever hear people talk about it in that way. People are very, etheric about it. They're like, oh, this is symbol. It's symbolizes this, it symbolizes that. But this is literal. This is a literal design, it's a qualitative design principle that helps with structural stability. It helps with, harmonic integration. Like, I can see it as a design principle in not just art, but in industrial engineering, in, circuit board creation. If you go look at Nikola Tesla's patent illustrations, almost all of his inventions have this element of sacred geometry. Anything that has been powerful in our scientific history has some sacred geometry design principles. And, side note, if any artists out there or designers are listening to this right now, you are the architects of the future. I encourage all artists to, come off the wall. Paint is awesome, drawing is awesome, but if you have those skills and you have that connection with the muse, we need you. This planet needs you. Our human family and the way that we live, we need you to come off the wall and start applying your divine spark to our harmonic way that we live amongst each other and with nature. We need those visionaries and those designers to come out and start this is an overhaul, and it's a huge effort. It's a group effort, and we all have to put in, we all have to help to redesign from the bottom up our infrastructure and the way that we live. And it's part of all of our sacred charge to do that and to work together.
Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. My God, I was looking forward to this, and then this just keeps getting more incredible. I'm just going to say the word incredible 7 more times in a row. Another thing that I really, really love about this and about you and your approach and what you said about artists, everything you just said there, I'm just still enjoying that. It's still playing, is, you're you're influenced by, I mean, all the right things. I'll say that because you've seen, it seems like it all, but you're influenced by all the right things. Because even with your machine, like it could look like a pile of dog shit and still be the coolest damn thing and the most therapeutic thing ever. But that's not you, because it's the same thing with me. That's not us. We're big into the presentation. And so with you though, also with your, you could see the movie Contact, like we talked about in our meeting, the movie Contact influence on your design. But it's so beautiful. Like it's gorgeous. It's an artistic design. Like if you just walked by and just saw it, you'd be like, oh my God, that's the dopest thing I've ever seen. And hang on, it can do what? Like that's how you feel about this. And it's truly remarkable. Like you're just unbelievable. I just can't believe this. I'm again still really, really impressed with you. So we are going to cut it here. I want to get your final thoughts though, and give you the final word here on just what gives you hope. Like what brings you forward into to wake up every day, to keep doing this shit, to keep a smile on your face like that, to keep doing this. What is that?
Well, it's hard because it is a rough time right now on planet Earth, and also for all of us, just economically, climate change, and just there's so many things that are right on the edge, like right on the precipice of like maybe not working out, and like that's really scary in a real way. And like there's a lot of danger that's imminent. There's a lot of darkness that's imminent. And it gets to me sometimes, most definitely. But the biggest thing that keeps me going is simply that I'm still here. And I know that if my soul I didn't come for the disaster. I came for the transformation. I came for the evolution. So if I'm still living and breathing and my heart is still beating, then I know that we're not done. We didn't fail. As long as I'm still here, we didn't fail yet. So every day I go out thinking, the second that the tables tip and humanity's screwed, I will just pass away. Like I'll just get hit by a bus or something, because it's just not in the cards anymore for my soul. My soul came here for the ultimate grand finale. So, I just keep following those chills and just having gratefulness for my life and for my breath and my heart, and just knowing that if I'm still here, I'm still going to be a lamp holder. I'm still going to hold the lamp so that other people can find me, find the others, find the way, activate the other pioneers. There's all these pioneers out there. Some people don't even know that they're a pioneer. I just need to keep activating the pioneers and find the others. And that's the main thing. And, now that we have the internet and we have these ways to like reach out and connect, and we can actually hold hands across distances and do huge groundbreaking projects across distances, we're only getting more tools to become a stronger force. So, if I get down, I just go to them. I go to my friends. I go to my community for support. I go to the drawing board. I get excited about the future designs. I start asking myself, how can I evolve this? If I feel stuck, if I'm out of chess moves, I know that it's not my place to go trying to find the next move, that somebody's going to come to me. If you're out of chess moves, you're going to be contacted. You're going to see the next step. It's going to come out at you, because you can't do anything else. So you just wait. And in those times where you're waiting and the impatience is just really getting to you, that's your time to just enjoy your life. Enjoy the moment. Don't worry about it. Something's going to come. So you, Brandon, reaching out to me to do this, that was during one of those moments where I was just like, wow, I don't know what to do now. I made the thing. What's next? Being on here has been really inspiring. It's been really awesome to talk about all these things that are just in my heart and mind all the time, and get them out. So thank you very much for having me. It's been really fun.
It's all a pleasure right here. Louisa Firethorne, all the ways to find you, everything that you put out on the internet that you want the folks to find will be located down in the show notes. I just can't tell you how remarkable you are. You don't need to hear it any more than I've already said it, but truly mean it. I'm so grateful for you and your time. You and I have so much more to talk about. So thank you again for everything. Honestly, this is truly
Thanks,
remarkable.
Brandon. You're awesome. I really appreciate you.
banger after banger after banger. These shows just keep getting better. These conversations keep blowing my mind even more. I keep meeting the most incredible people. Louisa Firethorne, thank you so damn much. This was awesome. Thank you so much for keeping our streak going here. Sonosphere.com, her Instagram, her Facebook, as well as her TikTok will be located down in the show notes. You guys make sure that you check her out. Thank you so much, Darlene. That was incredible. We have so many more things to talk about. You will be invited back. All right, while you guys are in those show notes down there, check out our affiliate links. We have Food Forest Abundance. Get your freedom from fear on, guys. Opus, the organization for paranormal understanding and support. If you are like, you know what, I'm done with the stagnancy, I'm ready to level up, there's a link down there that reads The Manifestor's Guide, and at checkout, type expanding reality, all caps, no spaces, and that is how you seriously level up right there. All right, guys, in those very same show notes, you can find the link that reads expandingrealitypodcast.com. That is our mothership, and that is the very place that you can sign up to become an Expansive Insider. And that's where all of our Expansive Insider content is hosted. We have a ton of bonus stuff over there. Just had my Akashic Records read with Rachel Horton White and got super emotional. I cried like 3 or 4 times. It was amazing, though. It was freeing and incredible. Also, my wife's been on a couple episodes with us over there. It's a lot of fun, incredibly fun, actually, and it's a wonderful way to support the show. If you want to participate in Value Exchange, you find value in this, and you're like, I just want to donate and give back, how can I do that? There's a link down there that reads Support the Mission, and that is absolutely how you get it done. And thank you, everybody, for participating in that. All right, guys, so go out into this incredibly amazing place, whatever the hell this thing is, and y'all pick up a piece of litter. Be nice to everybody that you come across. Just pleasantries is not dead, please and thank yous, all that kind of shit. Buy somebody in line a coffee or a meal if you really want to step your game up there. Also, if you are driving along, minding your own business, and you happen to be in the left-hand lane and somebody comes up behind you, just scoot on over. Just scoot on over one lane. You can take the shoulder if you'd like. Just get out of that lane. Let that person move on behind you, and then you can move on by. So that is a great way to raise the vibe. And above all and anything else, guys, go out into this incredibly beautiful place and y'all just be good to one another. Just be good to one another, I love you all. Bottom of my heart. Fucking serious. Love you all. Thank you for watching, listening, engaging, and just being the coolest motherfucking sons of bitches ever. We'll see you next time.